Hi, Lori.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I am good. Let's wait for Maria to come in. Okay.
I need to leave a few minutes early today. I have something I have to do with my with my hearing aid. I have to
Okay.
get fixed.
Okay. Um, so then we might need to change. Hold on one second.
Hi, Maria.
I didn't know someone was mute. Hi.
Hi. Okay. Give me. All right. Um, how is everybody?
Good.
Okay. So we're gonna change things a little bit today. And all right, perfect. All right, let's just wait for Holly to come in. All right, there's Holly.
There I am.
Right. Hi, everybody. So we're gonna do things a wee bit different today. Because there's two of you in class, Cheryl thought it'd be a good idea to drop another person in. That way you're just not going to be coaching each other back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So Julie, you're still going to coach today. However, you're going to be coaching Holly instead of Maria. Sound good?
Oh, sounds fine.
Okay.
Hi, Holly.
So Holly,
Hi, great to meet you.
Holly,
Likewise.
if you want to introduce yourself, Holly, and let I don't know, do you know Maria by any chance? Yeah.
Yes, I do know Maria. Hey,
Hi.
but I do not know Julie. So hey, Julie.
Maria.
I live in.
Hi, I was just wondering if Maria had come all set with her coaching topic.
Probably.
I did, but I'll save it. I'll save it for you, Julie.
Okie dokie.
All right. So, and just to let you guys know, there may be a change in how the class goes as well. So, the next two classes is going to be with Cheryl. You're going to get some mentoring, and then I'm going to hop back in for two classes after that. So there may be a switch in which we're going to go through the didactic part first and then have you guys coach in the second half. So if that switch happens, I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up, because I know sometimes we come prepared and we're like a little bit thrown off when we're like, oh no, I didn't want to wait to coach. So just to let you know, we're still trying to figure that out and see how that works out. But before we get started with the coaching, anybody have any questions about anything that was covered up until this point?
No, I just had maybe I don't know if I should ask Cheryl or not, but I thought we weren't having class next week because we had our one-on-one, right? So Thursday we don't have class because of our one-on-one.
I
Right?
have a
Is it-
one-on-one with Cheryl Thursday, and I think you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then that day we don't have class then, I'm assuming.
no.
My understanding, you won't have class Tuesday, Thursday because your one-on-ones replace it.
Okay, perfect.
But if it wouldn't be a bad idea to confirm that. I just don't know for certain, but I just know that I won't see you until the 25th.
Okay, and so then while Julie's coaching Holly, then I will also be giving feedback, right? On the
Yep. So I'm going to assign you 2 markers for you to listen for. And then when we're going through feedback, then you're going to share what your insights are on that. So why don't we have you do markers 3 and then markers 4, listen for those and just get some examples. You don't have to get super specific, but just when you recognize like say that she's providing support, empathy, concern, that there's an example there that you could go with it. So it's going to look something like, I observed 4.2, and this is what I saw.
okay
Should
from
we have
the
that? Sorry, go ahead, Maria.
no, it's okay. It's probably the same question that you have, Julie. Let me just check my computer real quick.
Well, I was just wondering if we should have that right
Yep,
here.
that's just like your core competencies. You should
Right.
have it available. Yeah. Do you guys need, I could see if I could drop the link. Do you guys need that? It's in the folder in the
Is it in class 5 folder? I'm trying to look for it here on my computer.
it's going to be here. I'm in your course. It should be under the drive. Sorry, my computer is just a little.
So is mine. I don't know what's going on here.
Or June. I'm in the wrong class. There you go. Hold on one second. So you should have it. Okay, perfect. When you start the class, you know how you go in and you actually start the like the course in progress?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hold on. It should be. That's how I always found everything, but let me just double check. There's your eye. So if you go under group mentoring 1, so that's like in between class 2 and 3,
Yep.
right? You'll see it says 2004 SCE coaching session feedback form.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I don't, maybe you
Oh,
can
great. I
give me
downloaded this
a
like
little
5 times.
guidance.
So here, I could share my screen. Give me 2 seconds. Is that right? That looks right. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Just one sec.
Mhm. Go here. See if that'll help. Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So you know how this is where you get into your course right there?
Mm-hmm.
So if you click on that and you see how it says like lesson completed, go forward until you get to group mentoring, and it's this form right here. And you guys know you need to start, in order to get access to any of these files, you have to start session,
Right.
right? So then just download this PDF right here.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And okay. All right. So Miss Julie, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Miss Holly, are you ready?
Born ready some days.
Okay, so Maria, let's have you do again markers 3 and 4. And it is 110. So about 25 to 35 minutes average. Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
Maria, please go off camera. And the floor is yours. Perfect. Thank you.
Holly, it's so nice to be with you like this.
I know, I've missed you.
I appreciate your taking the time today, and I'm looking forward to our session together. Um,
Yeah.
do you know what it is you would like to focus on for today?
Yes, I really need to work on my morning routine, getting life started in the morning.
Okay, that sounds like a good thing to focus on. What would having a morning routine be like for you? What would it provide you?
A more consistent, like Monday through Friday. So I wasn't great on my evening routine. And so recently worked on that a little bit,
Hmm.
but still not like great on like consistently getting up and kind of doing things in an order. Like when I would go to a work job, like a 9 to 5.
Yes.
So it would just, I think, get me in a routine, and I don't feel like I'm in a good routine. There's no routine. That's the thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if you had a good routine, how would your life be different?
Well, I mean, I do better when I am in a fairly consistent routine. I get more accomplished. I don't feel like as frazzled with my list of like daily stuff to do.
That sounds great. So, to have a successful coaching session, what would you take with you today?
A I don't want, I mean, I could say a morning routine, but um a good, yeah, we'll a morning routine. let's,
You know,
let's figure out. See,
just,
I don't even want to
just,
commit to one. I don't even want to commit to one as an outcome.
it's broad, it's inclusive. Um, is there specific items on this morning routine you would like to nail down?
Yeah. My like coffee and breakfast time. I have a sunroom and I love to sit in my sunroom, like to have my breakfast with my dog. And it's just been a really nice, I've been doing that like the last few months on and off.
Hmm.
And it's been a good, just like nice, like getting my mindset for the day, sometimes reading my Bible, praying about the day. Um, so that's kind of all encompassing, like in that. But
Yes.
then also like when to fully get ready, like as far as showering, looking good for the day, um, and then getting into my office to work.
Okay. So you have some things that you are naturally doing
Hmm.
and a couple of things that you would like to get a little bit more solid on, like the time factor.
Yeah, time factor, and maybe I need to change the order up. I'm not really sure.
All right. So time, order,
Consistency.
yeah, great. So that's what you would like to leave here with as a
Yeah.
result of your work.
Yes.
It's your work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, why is this important to you, you think?
I just know it's not like producing the the best Holly that I can be.
Clear.
Yeah. Like I said, when it was office, or like the, before COVID and life was more, I had an office job, those kinds of things. Like it was just there was a natural routine and you had to be somewhere, and that was good for me.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
is that something you want to recreate for life
Yeah,
now?
I think I need to force myself. Like I had to force myself to get a better night routine because I'm a night person and sometimes I teach night classes. Um, so really needed to just like force my mindset and change it into, okay, this is going to make me better if I do these things consistently. And so that's been helping. But I noticing then, okay, now I need to work on the morning one.
So I'm hearing a disciplined person who um, gets that it's important to empower yourself with these
You
routines.
hear you hear a woman who knows I should be disciplined and I shouldn't should, but in my life. But
Okay,
I
you're
saw
safe with me. You can use the word.
I should, thank you. I know I need to be disciplined and I honestly struggle with it in certain areas of my life. And it's become apparent this is one that I struggle with when I'm not being held accountable by a stricter schedule.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you want to hold yourself accountable.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What would a best Holly morning look like?
Yeah. I've been thinking like at 8 o'clock, 8:30. 8 o'clock really feels better. Although I'd like 8:30, but I think 8 o'clock feels better. Like wake up and start the day. Um, and feel like with a more consistent routine, feel more grounded going into the day. So not like that frazzled feeling of, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put my work focus on. Not being frazzled with my list of things that I need to do, like not feeling rushed. That's the word. Not feeling rushed to get my stuff done because I'm up and at 'em and sorted by a good hour so that I'm planning my day accordingly to like the time that I have and the time that I need to get things done.
So I'm just wondering, you
Mm-hmm.
want to wake up and not feel rushed. If you had to reframe that in a forward, positive way,
Mm-hmm.
how would you like to wake up?
Well, I wish I was a person who woke up awake, but I'm not like a person who wakes up and I'm like, whoa, let's go world. So I need time to get up and like enter into my day. So I'm
Uh-huh.
not really sure how to reframe. I mean, I know like how I could reframe it, but that's not an honest reframing of like I don't feel frazzled when I wake up. I feel frazzled when I don't spend time mentally preparing for the day and like physically preparing for the day.
So how would you mentally prepare in a way that um, uh, is realistic for Holly and the way Holly is? How would you prepare mentally?
Yeah, so I think the like going to my sunroom and having some breakfast, coffee. I think the thing with that is like I can let myself sit there really long, longer than I need to or should.
What's a good
But
time
then some.
to do that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, you're
interrupt.
okay. No, it is a good time. And then sometimes I bring my iPad down or my iPad's like by me. So then I just start doing work so that I'm in the sunroom doing work, which is really beautiful and nice because it's not like super hot in there yet. But then all of a sudden it's like 12 or 1 and I'm like haven't showered or done my hair or done my makeup. So I just kind of throw myself to go out for the day or to like see clients or something. And then that doesn't make you feel your best as a woman.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like I get up and I do this little bit of a morning routine, but then I don't force myself to kind of follow through with
Hmm.
other steps to set myself up to be the best.
Yep. I'm just wondering about the word force.
Mhm.
And
That's
but
how it feels.
I completely understand, but I'm interested in um, having this be an opportunity um, that lights you up you know,
Yeah.
that this routine is not something that you must force,
Yeah.
but it's something that honors you and for who you are.
Yeah. That would make it feel a lot better.
I, I think so.
Yeah.
So if you had to narrow that window of
Mm-hmm.
the coffee, the dog, the sunroom, the breakfast, the iPad, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What might in 8 o'clock is a good wake up time. You said
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, if you were to put a circle around that time so that
Mm-hmm.
you move on to make yourself feel good,
Yeah.
have a shower, do your
Yeah.
makeup, ready for your day, what time would that be or thereabouts?
I think 9 o'clock would be fair for the pace that I move when I first wake up, and so could still enjoy that time in the morning. But then 9 is probably a good time to then kind of get rolling a little bit. Yeah. Getting in the shower, doing my hair, makeup.
Okay. You did say mental and get myself ready mentally and
Mm-hmm.
physically. Is this the physical part?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you've got 8 to 9 getting ready mentally, and then nine
Mm-hmm.
moving into getting ready, showering, just
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for your day.
Yeah.
That's the physical part. So go on. Sounds good.
um, so then at 10, I'm ready to, I wish it wasn't summertime. I
But
love summer,
but it
but
is.
I would love to like do a walk in there. But I live in Charleston, South Carolina, so that's not going to like be able to be something to do until like the fall. Um, so yeah, I think at 10, then going in to my office, coming into my office and organizing my day, like thinking through what I need to do today. What does that look like? Time frames, those kinds of things. Cause I'm also not like, because I'm not consistently doing times in the morning, that I'm not consistently ending at the same time every night. So there's just all this like overlap for me of, you know, little work here and a little work there, a little rest, little work here, a little, and I think that's part of it too. So in my mind, I'm thinking if I get my morning routine consistent down to different times and really like stick to it, then that'll help me end at a better time and then have my evenings free.
Okay. So here we are at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking gorgeous, sitting
Mm-hmm.
at your
Yes.
desk,
Yes.
organizing the rest of
Mm-hmm.
your day.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. I think I take that hour to organize, do administrative work that needs done, or any of that kind of annoying stuff. Just get it over with.
Okay.
Because then usually, like seeing clients, teaching, those kinds of things start by 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you like to repeat your new routine? Like speak it into formation?
Yeah. Okay. So get up at 8 and go to the sunroom with Wellington, my dog. And he also drinks a little latte with me. He gets a little cup of milk. So So we latte together in the morning. So latte with Wellington and have some breakfast and mentally prepare, like mentally waking up, spiritually preparing my mind.
Mm,
And then around 9, head upstairs, back upstairs to physically get ready for my day. And then by 10, be in the office. Again, just getting the day kind of in order. Whether I already have a list or not, it's still that taking that mind time to go, okay, this is what I need to do, and kind of get an order for the
mm-hmm,
day.
mm-hmm.
And then I think I'll be a lot better to go by like 11, even possibly 10:30, who knows, but 11 would be
Right.
the ultimate goal. Yeah. Yeah.
How does it feel when you see yourself doing that kind of day?
It feels a lot healthier. Yeah.
Feels
It
it
feels more
feels.
caring.
Did you say caring?
Yeah. Caring about myself.
Ah, that's such a good word. Feels
Mm-hmm.
caring about myself. I'm just
Yeah.
really interested to maybe focus on that word. What does that word mean, the caring for yourself?
I think just taking time for myself privately and alone. I think I've been like letting myself sleep or take longer, and it's actually not been good. It's just been kind of lazy in a bad way. Not like sometimes we just need to be lazy because we're so stressed, but I think I've been a little too lazy for a while now, and then it's not truly caring for myself. So then I'm feeling that's where like that I think frazzled feeling comes from, where I'm not presenting my best self because I'm just kind of lollygagging through the day, right? Instead of being a little bit more structured with my day. Yeah, so it feels caring to think about like getting up and providing space for myself instead of always having space for others, creating the space for myself.
I really hear that, Holly,
Yeah.
that caring for yourself in the form of some good boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Not that's coming to mind right now. Yeah.
Now, what uh, obstacles might you encounter in this, the best Holly day?
Well, not being my best Holly and going to bed appropriate times. So staying up too late. And I mean, that usually happens when I teach a late class. It's hard to get to sleep. So I've been trying different things to um, get myself to go to sleep sooner. You know what I mean? Like not allowing myself to do certain things like, oh, that'll relax me a little bit to fall asleep. And really, it's just energizing me because I'm such a night person. It's like, then I'm that overtired toddler that like pushes through the tiredness, and then I'm like this crazy weird awake, and then I crash, and then I don't get up in the morning. It's just this bad cycle. So really needing to stick to my evening routine, and
Mhm.
so that then I can honor the morning routine.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody that could be supportive, like accountability partner, so to speak?
Yeah, so my boyfriend, he's part of the he's not part of the problem. The problem is that he lives in another state and has not moved down to my state yet, so we're always FaceTiming. Um, and he's early to bed and early to rise. And I'll never be early to rise, but I know I push him to stay up later at times.
Uh-huh.
And so I know that he'll be, yeah. I just need to say, okay, we both need to just commit. Like, you just need to force me off. Like last night, I was so exhausted. He's like, okay, well, we're gonna go to bed now. And I was like, okay, I don't want to go to bed. He's like,
Mhm.
you'll appreciate it in the morning. And I did. So I think working with him, like having him help me with that, and him intentionally like not allowing me to push him to stay awake, to stay on FaceTime, just to chat or, watch another episode of something on Netflix.
So perhaps share your ideal morning
Yeah,
with.
with John.
It sounds like he's interested in supporting you.
Oh, he's so supportive. He's
So
amazing.
supportive. That's
Yeah,
really terrific.
yeah. I'm gonna marry him. Yeah,
That's very exciting.
yeah. He hasn't asked yet, but I will say yes when he asks.
Okay. I'll take that
Side
as
note.
a committed intention.
Yes, yes, we're very committed.
So we have, let's see, about 3 or 4 minutes before we wind up. Is there some way to sum up uh, what you're taking away as yours from the work you've done today?
Well, I mean, obviously thinking through the morning routine and feeling comfortable and more confident in it is good. But when I was talking about my evening routine, as far as obstacles, I had the realization that like they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to really be honoring one so I can honor the other. And when I slack on one, then it's going to slack on the other. And that's what then will push me back into a funk. Right. So taking care of things on both ends, right? It's not just going to bed at the right time. It's not just getting up at the right time. It's, ending my day well and starting my day well is what I think is going to be the most important thing as far as presenting my best Holly and feeling more put together as I enter into the world every day.
That sounds really great. What have you learned about yourself in this short period of time?
I think that I need to really think about the morning time as time for myself, for my own preparations and just me time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe thinking about it that way will help me stay that much more committed to doing it.
Right, right. And I heard you say a couple of things. One is that at the beginning, it was important to do this so that you could be the best Holly you can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's pretty significant. And then just now I heard you say you feel comfortable and confident
Mm-hmm.
with this routine. And that
Yeah.
sounds like it's pretty important to you.
Yeah, it is.
Be
Yeah.
comfortable with Holly and confident.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, because you seem like someone who really wants to contribute your gifts to others. And
Yeah.
what better way than to be the best you can be?
Yeah. exactly.
Great. Anything else that you would like to say, or anything you want to hold up before we conclude?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Great, great. Well, all the best, Holly. It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Holly, thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
You. All right. So, Julie, let me ask you, how was that for you?
Well, it was just a privilege. It was, I was very in touch with that it's a gift to be able to support, in this case, Holly, who's just such a committed person. So obviously, you know, to work on things that matter to her.
And so, how was the session for you? How did you feel?
I felt really good. I was wishing I had the core competencies, but to be honest, I think that referring to them might have distracted me from being fully present with her.
Okay.
I don't necessarily think it's the best thing to be like, oh, am I being present and then coming back? So
Yeah, no, definitely. So what is one thing you're most proud of?
I think coaching the whole person, I feel like I did that with Holly, that I could see her humanity and, you know, some of her struggles and relate to them. And so coaching the whole person. And I think I was gentle.
Okay. Yeah. And what would be something that you would do differently?
I think the contract came about a bit slowly. And maybe well, I interrupted her once. That's not good.
But you have the awareness, which is what we want, right? So
Mhm.
that's good. That's a great insight.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, so we're gonna break down our competencies. Maria, so tell me, what did you observe for section 3?
Um, so she did good with like the coaching relationship, establishing the agreement. I know throughout the session, it did take a while to get to the agreement, like Julie has said, but once they narrowed it down, they did. She kept going back to like the best Holly morning or the best Holly day, right? Actually, you should use that Holly. It's a holiday, like a holiday. So kind of like getting it back to what the original coaching agreement was, right? Of like building that routine of day to day. She kept saying, is it correct? I'm hearing that you want in the beginning, what did I write? Time, order, and consistency. And she had agreed. And then towards the end, she said, okay, or towards the middle, actually, we wanted to work on your mental and your physical. Is this part of your physical? Kind of like getting that clear message of like, okay, so what part of what is it that we're working on? Do you want me to go through like each, like
You don't
301,
have to go
302,
through,
3? Oh,
no,
okay.
you don't have to go through each. I just, so what, how it looks like, since you guys haven't done this before, right? Is have it look something like, okay, so what you'll say, I saw 3.2 measured of success, where she was
Okay.
looking for time, order, consistency,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So
And I do
these
have it
are,
written down like that.
yeah,
I'm
perfect.
just reading down through it, I'm not like, that's why I said, do you want me to say like 3.2? This is
Yeah,
what, okay. All
yeah,
right.
that'd be great.
So on 3.1, so the confirming again when she had said, is this what you want? Is this your mental part that you or your physical part that you're going to be working on? For the 3.2.
You don't have to do all of them. You could just give us a
Oh,
couple. Yeah.
so it was like I said, the best holiday. What would that look like? Kind of bringing it back twice. That was the 3.3. Also realistically and how to prepare mentally for it, as well. And I said everything else on the 3 part, on the competency part of number 3.
And what about the
4.
competency, fostering trust and safety?
This one, so for 4.1, I wasn't really sure as to what. I actually had a question on that, like unique talents, insights, work. I did know she gave some, like, also I'm hearing that, you know, you're a committed person. You want to commit to intentions, and you know, it was kind of like a joke going on in there. But I didn't hear anything like with unique talents or much insight of like work specifically, because Holly was going through her day-to-day, not much of like, I guess, of like a standstill, or does that not matter? So that's a question I have personally, like how to rate that competency with a 4.1.
Yeah, so
But
that's okay.
go
No,
ahead.
no, carry on, carry on, carry
Oh
on.
no, I was going to continue.
Yeah, go,
I
go,
was going to
go.
continue about. So the support, show support, empathy, and concern. Julie did that throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's who she is just on a regular basis as well. So it comes out on her coaching, which is amazing. You know, she'll agree, she'll say, yes, I hear that clear. That's a good word, caring about yourself. That sounds good. Like all this like empathy words that she uses, and showing support to the client. And then the other one too, with the client's expression of feeling, perceptions, when she really said, well, what is it, caring about yourself, what does that feel to you, or what is that to you? Like her defining that, I thought was amazing. It was great. So that definitely covered the 4.3. And partnering with the client and inviting the client to respond in the way. Julie sometimes shared some of her like insight as well, and then Holly would kind of refrain back, and then Julie would just like let it go and then continue on with what Holly was saying. Says it wasn't mean to care about yourself. I know better, right? But that's share your ideal like day. And then when she said, you know, so it's commitment with intention. Holly kind of like took back and kind of refrained on that word, and then they continued on with the session. So I think Julie did pretty good with the whole like empathy and competency, trust. There was a point where she said, you can use that word, you know, this is a safe space, you could say the word. So that definitely
Yes.
builds like that trust. Yeah. Yeah, so on these two competencies, I think she did very well.
Great, 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 great. So as far as the other competencies go, so I found that you were definitely coaching the agenda, so 5.2. Especially when you asked what would the best Holly routine look like, right? So you really tried to get in deeper. You tried to go and I also felt that you were really curious. You asked a lot of questions. So competency 5.4, just being curious with the client. You definitely had some silence and pauses, right? So 5.5, you demonstrated that. You are correct that you did have, you only did it once. You had one interruption that I observed. So that would fall under competency 6.6 of no interruptions. But you have an awareness around that. So that's a good thing. The one thing that I would suggest doing a little differently. So with competency 6.2, you did a great job at using her words like caring. And then you inquired into the word force, that I feel forced. And I felt that it was an opportunity for you to ask a question around the language that she was using. And what I found you saying was that you reframed it to what lights you up. And so I'm going to invite you, if you have a chance, go back and listen to this one moment. And it would have been a question like, what has you use the word force? Like why, I don't want to ask a why question, but this is like one of those why questions, right? Like, why are you saying forced? What's forced about it? And get deeper into why she's using that language. Because I felt that the second it was reframed to, let's focus on what lights you up, that moment of her like really getting deep with herself of how she's really feeling, I felt was lost.
Mm.
Just something to look into of
That's very good.
yeah. And then I also felt that I don't remember her saying anything about boundaries, and you introduced that word too. So then that's like a question of, she was saying that she wanted the balance and honoring morning and evening routines, right? So that technically is, setting boundaries for herself. I would ask it in the form of a question.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Holly, when you're saying that, are you saying you want to set more boundaries for yourself instead of adding that word and then having her take that on, right?
Yeah,
So
sort
that
of leading her.
it's
Yeah.
putting a label that she hadn't mentioned.
Right.
So we have to be careful of doing that, because sometimes then we're going to get a client that's going to say, oh yeah, no, that's not what I mean. And then we're going to talk about it today of that trust, safety, and rapport. That's going to then have some people might go back into their shell, right? Instead, and we want them to just keep opening up. We want those layers of that onion to keep, really, working on that to get to that source of it.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I thought, definitely 7.3, you expand the topic for sure, especially when you add what does the word caring mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also expanded the outcome, 7.4. What would that day, what could that day look like your holiday look like? And I felt, there's so much here. There's so many notes. You asked about obstacles. So 8.6, you also asked 8.7 about accountability. So I think overall, really, really good session, very strong session. How do you feel about that feedback?
I feel good. I really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I thought you did great. So it's going to be one of those things of just recognizing um so the one thing that I got from this course that I think is really valuable, because I think also because we've all been coaches for a little bit, is don't preface the question, just ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
If we find ourselves talking, then it's like, and it's not a question that we're saying, like we should literally just pause mid-sentence and just keep going. And that's for everybody. That's just not for Julie, right? It's a good reminder for us to just like, if you're talking, just have it be a question. We had a gentleman in our class who is so concise, right? Like you don't know anything about him, but you still love him because of his presence. But all he does is ask question, 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 question. You leave the session feeling like you're his BFF, but you know nothing about him. And it is so masterful that it's really what we should strive to be like, right? And you still have a rapport with him. You still feel safe. You still feel like connected. And he just has and that's what he does. He just keeps asking questions, and he never preface them. So it's like, what does caring mean to you? Right? Like, what would it be like if you were more caring? Right? And just kind of go deeper with that. So what does everybody hear from that? I want to make sure that that just lands the way that I'm intending. What are people getting from that?
Pretty much well, instead of beating around the bush, just get to the point. That's pretty much what you're saying.
To the point and don't explain. Yeah, exactly. And we will find that the second we do that, that 80-20 rule, right, even goes 90-10. It even gets less of you just sharing anything. You're just really you just keep asking. And so it's a red flag for me now. It's like something that I literally stop mid-sentence and I just stop talking. And then I ask my question. And so nobody cares. Does that make sense? Like nobody's gonna like be like, well, what were you saying? The second that they hear your question, they're gonna focus on your question and they may not even remember what you were even saying before that. So Holly, I'd love to hear from you. How was this session for you? And would you say you got what you wanted out of it?
Yeah, it was really good. I think I definitely got what I needed out of it and some good deep thoughts to walk away with. Yes, I myself struggle with just question, nothing else. This whole like, we can have direct communication. That's a lie. I just feel like we need to just throw it out the window. No direct communication, because then it just leads to so much more. But I thought Julie was really great at hearing what I was saying and wasn't saying and turning it into some really just beautiful questions. Like really, yeah, really good questions. Yeah.
I agree. And now that the session is complete and we've had time to break it down, are there any questions that you wish you would have asked or wish you would have been asked, or even for you, Maria, if you were in that session as a coach, was there something coming up for you that you're like, oh, I would have asked this? No?
I don't know. I think I would have asked more questions on the part where in the beginning when she said she didn't want to commit or she doesn't like to commit. Like it's
Yeah.
a goal. I would have kind of went with that lead better, but then it maybe the session would not have went the way it went. It would have gone a different way.
But that's a good insight. And that's why I asked this question, because all of our listening is different, right? And that's why every coach that we interact with is going to give us a different session, because that might have been your leading question. I would have had something different. If Holly was a coach, she would have had something different. And so that's why I like this part of the exercise to see where people were thinking.
You know,
Julie,
could Maria repeat that? Because I actually was like writing down what I might have asked if I had it to do over. Could you tell me again?
yeah, I was saying that I would have explored a little bit more her saying about that she didn't want to commit.
She didn't want to
She,
commit.
yeah, in the beginning when she spoke about it, I think it might have been like the third or fourth. If I'm right, if I'm transcribing, it'd be like the third sentence or fourth. It was like right in the beginning.
And
But
she
I
should
You do that?
I just wrote down notes. I have a lot of notes of like things that Julie had said and what Holly responded to. No pressure, guys. You guys are not judged.
I don't feel judged.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything come up that they would have asked or wish you were asked?
Well, when Holly said what she said about caring for herself, that this routine and sticking to it shows that she cares for herself. I thought I sensed, Holly, that there was some emotion there.
Yeah.
And one thing we heard in one of the sample sessions was what's happening for you right now? And I think I might have asked something like, what's going on in your body right now when you talk about caring for yourself?
Yeah, that would have been an excellent question.
Mm-hmm,
It's a
mm-hmm.
good one.
Yeah. And what I love about that too is that you're then setting your client up that anytime they have that physical manifestation that they should like pause and think about like what's happening right now, that I'm actually feeling that. Right? It's a really good tool for people to recognize like, oh, here I go again. It allows them to get present to what. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Great. Okay. Anybody, comments, questions, statements before we declare this complete and let Holly get on with her day?
Just thank you so much, and all the best in your future best holidays.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you're going to see me again soon
Good.
in July.
Great.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true for
I will
sure.
be back.
And Holly, I feel your pain. I get exactly what you're going through. So if I
Yes.
could support you in any way, let's chat because I
Well,
get
I
it.
just keep telling John, like, get a job down here, let's get married, and then your schedule will force my schedule. But
Yeah.
until then, I need to learn to discipline myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Talk to you
Holly.
guys later. Bye.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Holly.
bye.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Good job. Why don't we take a break? And then when we come back from our break, we're going to go into building trust, safety, and rapport. And then we're going to have that conversation. And then I'll let you on your merry way for today. Sound good? So why don't we come back at 15 after?
Thank you.
I'm gonna put a clock.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
trying to pay a bill. Trying to pay a toll. It was here. It's
Were you
annoying hearing
successful
all
or
that.
no? You're still in the middle of it.
No, I'm done. The the lady processing the payment, she was a little trying to use a nice word, but there's no nice word to say, ghetto. And she's giving me the confirmation number, and she goes D. Like, you could say so many things for D, and she said dead. And I'm like, what? And she's like, D as in dead. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, so many other words you can use for D, but that's what you use.
David,
That's nice. Oh man.
That's a new one.
Right? I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a new one for sure.
Like, I worked in I was a biller and a coder for a medical biller and coder. So like I was always on the phone with insurance. It's like alpha, beta, delta, dog, like anything possible. Like make it. Sometimes we'll make a game out of it. Like, oh, today we're gonna use people's names. We're gonna use like it was like dead. I was like, all right.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we're all still alive. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about something that we are familiar with, but it's good to go back around: building trust, safety, and rapport. So I'm going to share the chapter with you so you don't have to go and try to find it. Okay. So this is what is in your download and you're in the book. All right. So honestly, for me, trust, safety, and rapport is the most important competency, right? We always talk about the coaching agreement being the thing that we need to nail. You need to know what they want to talk about. You need to know what they want to have. You have to remind them, right? Like reaffirm it with them, confirm, like, so this is what I hear you saying. You want to talk about, this is what you have. Is that correct? So that is a foundational piece of coaching. One of the things that goes right alongside with that and really has people open up and be really truthful about what they're dealing with comes from creating trust. When people have a place that they feel they could speak into without being judged, without without feeling like a person might take it the wrong way, it makes it really people will shy away from talking to us. So if you don't have trust and safety on board in your coaching sessions, and also think about it for people in your life, right? Like if they don't trust you, if you don't have trust in your relationships, you're going to have a really difficult time. And in our coaching calls, we're going to struggle getting them from what they want to talk about, what they want to have, to their action items. So you can ask all the great questions. You could reflect back. You could really have active listening. But without rapport, without trust, without creating that intimacy, it's going to be really hard to get any progress if you haven't developed the connection with our client. So you're going to see that your client is not going to move forward. So connection is everything. And the type of connections are going to be different really with every interaction that you have, with every client that you have. Sometimes you just immediately connect and you get that trust, you get that rapport with people. You feel energetically you're on that same wavelength. and they feel that they could share anything with you. You feel you could share anything with them, right? Think about people in your life. The same is true for our client. Like, you're going to know the first few seconds you're on a call with somebody, you're going to know, like, yeah, like, I just can't be with this person. Like, I don't want to, like, I just can't. And we have to, as coaches, listen to those instincts just as much as us trying to create that trust with other people. So the type of connection is also going to be different based on the type of coaching that you do. So if you're a spiritual coach, you're going to have that energetic, right? Like, Julie, as you know, what you do for people in your community, that isn't automatic for you. Like, you exude trust, and they're either going to step into that, or they're going to feel like, yeah, no, Julie's not for me, right? Like, and it's something that we have this dance. So when you're having those conversations with your community, it's going to be different than the conversations that you're going to have, say, with a boardroom. We're going to have different energies that are going to come into our coaching experience. So if you're an executive coach, your conversations and that how you build that trust and that rapport is going to be a little bit different than if you are a spiritual coach, because the intention of why they're there is going to be different. The language that you use may actually be different. So the connection with our clients is going to be different based on what kind of coaching and what kind of modalities you're doing in your coaching, right? But if you still aren't connected, meaning you still haven't built up that trust and rapport and creating that safe environment for them, regardless of what you're coaching on, it's going to be really difficult for you to have a really good coaching session with them. If you don't have those three things, creating that safe environment, getting that rapport, you know, having that trust, because they're so interlinked with our client isn't going to respond the same. So you're not going to be as successful as quickly as you would otherwise. And, you know, there's a conversation, and I guess I want to ask you, what your thought is. Over time, can you build that trust, that intimacy with rapport with your clients? Say you haven't had it, you know, the first initial month. Do you think that it's possible for you to create that long term?
I think so. I think
And if
so. I've had the experience of not feeling connected and just noticing that and trusting that. I mean, in my belief system, we are one, you know, that even though a client might have like one thing, I find myself being critical sometimes if a client sort of goes on and it is difficult to get back on track with the coaching agreement, and I'll get a little bit annoyed. And it takes rigor for me to focus on the trust and the faith that I have that we are one, rather than focus on what it is that's annoying me. So I do trust that over some time that I will be able to connect with and sort of peer into their humanity, their vulnerability, and what makes them, this is going to sound strange, a dear human, you know, like a dear human being. That's what I look for. And it can be challenging. I recently have had kind of a, like a breakthrough in that, to where I could take more, um, be a little bit more rigorous with them as well as myself. Like when I did my recording, I actually said to the person, I said, are we switching directions here? Because we had this thing we were going to work on, and we can switch if you want. No, no, he says, I want to stick with it. I want to stick with it. And when I first started coaching him, it just was sort of all over the place. It was very hard.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I do believe that it's possible.
And that's a great way to redirect, right? When you have a coaching session that's kind of like falling off the rails, right? A great way to always be is going back to that coaching agreement. And that is why that coaching agreement is so important. And it could look something like, like you said, or, hey, I just want to get clear. How does this connect to that? Or are they not connected? Right? Like, what does that look like? And getting them back on track. What about you, Maria? Do you think that over time you can build trust with somebody if you don't initially have a connection with someone?
Yes, I do know that it takes time. Some people are just always guarded as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I say yes, but also it would take time. There's some people that would only trust you halfway, and they're just like that throughout the entire time. So I think yes, I'm gonna go with yes, but it'll take time, and everybody's a little different. Life's been a little bit harder on others than on some that are not so trusting. So it's just because of the background that I've come from, where I know that where I grew up in, people do not trust anyone. So
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. And I also then, the one thing we need to think about is, one, do I want to take this client on? Is this something that I'm willing to do, knowing it's going to take a long haul, right? It might take a couple, it might take, maybe 6 sessions before they even start opening up a little bit. And you want to kind of think about, do I want to take this on? Like, because also for us as a coach, right, we are, lack of a better word, even our satisfaction, but knowing like a little bit of our ego, but also like we know that feeling when we really made a breakthrough with somebody. It's what keeps us moving forward, and our confidence is really intertwined with what they get at the end of our session, right? So we also then need to decide, is this something that I want to do? Am I committed enough to this specific person that I'm willing to invest the time? And we need to discern, is it their personality or is it a lack of trust? And is it something that it's our interaction for ourselves, right? Maybe there is something in the space, or is it their personality? Right? So this is more of like one of those things to think about and to be aware of when you're interacting with people, and what that's going to look like. Because you'll see through as you go through your sessions, right? You may have given all the trust, you developed that rapport, created the safe space, and that client still doesn't step into it because, like Maria said, it's just their personality, right? It's just how life has treated them, that they're really just need a lot of more proof and evidence that you're not going to screw them over. Right? For lack of a better way to say it.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're really clear what we're taking on. And the reason why I say that is because you're going to see that when that trust, that rapport, that intimacy is not there, your client may not be progressing. And it has nothing to do with us and as a coach. But what ends up happening is they're not moving forward. We're asking all these questions. The conversation isn't moving forward. And then they're stuck. And then we get stuck. And then in that moment, we need to decide, okay, what do we do? Right? So for me, it's one of those things of, I think I've had this happen to me once where I just did not get anywhere. No matter how many sessions I had, I just wasn't moving forward with them. And I just had a really frank conversation. And I was just like, look, my commitment is to you. And I'm feeling at this time that I may not be the best person for you. That maybe our interaction is not what you need. Sorry?
What'd they say?
They sat there and they thought about it. And they actually were like, no, I want to continue. But it was one of those things of, I was just really straight where I'm like, look, I can refer you to somebody else, but my commitment is to really get you moving forward. And I feel like we're not advancing. So it's okay to say that to somebody.
Mm.
It's okay for us to just be really straight too, right? Because it's not about us and not about our ego or anything like that. It's about our commitment to really serving other people. So if you find that they're stuck, you're now stuck, right? We're gonna need to really dig deep into our emotional intelligence on this and recognize what's coming up for us, what's in our space, and also use that tool, that skill to reflect back what we're hearing, to go to ask the questions based on our gut feelings and talk about the, and really hone in on the emotions around everything that's happening. Because if we don't have that foundational piece of trust and safety and creating that rapport for people, we're really gonna struggle in a session. So the first piece of this chapter, and sorry, I just realized I was still sharing my screen. So thank you for staying with me in that conversation with the screen like that. The first piece in all of this chapter is really, like I said, it's foundational to a successful coaching relationship. So confidentiality, mutual respect, and really the coach supporting the client's agenda, not our agenda, right? And the use of empathy and emotional awareness to create that safe space for them. And when we do that, our clients are then going to feel valued, understood, and they're going to open up and they're going to allow and they're going to recognize that they're free to explore their thoughts, their feelings, their behaviors. And we're not going to provide any judgment. So I guess that's the first thing when you find that you're stuck with somebody, is really asking, like, what's present for you right now with our interaction that you feel that you can't share that with me? And see, like, have we failed to create that judgment-free environment? Do they feel that we're going to judge them? Like, what's in their space that they can't open up? So one of the things, so how do we create this trust? So we do that through empathy. We do that through emotional awareness. And we also really have our clients get that we understand their feelings. We may not understand exactly what they're going through, and we don't need to know all the details. We don't need to know anything about it. We just need to know that they're left feeling a certain way and be empathetic towards that. And so sometimes if there is a topic that we may not have experienced, like a lot of times we'll become coaches in a field that we have firsthand experience in. And sometimes you'll have a client come to you like, I'm a wellness coach. And my first client ever was somebody looking for career coaching. And I remember saying to them, like, hey, this isn't my experience, but I can help you. And if you feel that this doesn't work, then we don't have to do this. And they agreed. And it was like 2 sessions later, they already had a new job. They were already like, you know, going on their merry way. They didn't need me anymore. And that was a moment for me where I recognized like coaching is coaching is coaching. So as long as we step into the empathy and we step into their shoes, regardless of whether or not we understand what they're dealing with or not, if we have a grasp on their emotions, on what's going on for them, regardless of whether or not we understand it, by us putting ourselves in their shoes and empathizing with their situation, even if it's something that we've never experienced, right? We can still create that safe space for them when we do that. So the other piece of that is going to be the emotional awareness piece, right? So we're going to talk about that too, but it's really, as a coach, for us to recognize our own emotions, but also our client's emotions. And what is the client saying that's bringing up whatever emotions from us, right? So I mentioned it last time that sometimes you're going to have a client and they're going to talk about a topic and you're going to just find yourself like reactive. Like you start thinking about yourself instead of focusing on what they're saying. And so for me, whenever that happens, I look at it as great news. A lot of people will be like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, nope, great, awesome. So as they're talking, I'm literally making myself notes to clear myself of whatever it is that they're talking about, of whatever area in my life I need to go and look at for myself, right? So this emotional awareness is really essential for managing the coaching relationship, right? Sometimes we have to step back and like check ourselves and how we're reacting emotionally to it. So as always, the client is going to lead the conversation, right? And we don't want to occupy any of the coaching space with whatever it is we're dealing with, that whatever they're saying is bringing up. So we don't want to bring our stuff, our own emotions into that. And one of the things we want to look out for is that, well, I guess let me ask you, have you ever had a coaching session where you got completely distracted and your presence wasn't there? Right? Like, even if it is for like a second. And I'll never forget the first time it happened to me. The client was just looking at me and I was like, oh no. I knew they knew I knew. And it was like this awkward space of like, oh no, they just caught me because I was thinking about me and I wasn't focusing on them. And it was one of those feelings that I never want to recreate, right? And so that's why I'm saying, when we recognize that we're confronted about something that they're saying, it's good news. It's just a place for us to heal, right? So we want to make sure that the emotions that they're expressing are validated. We also want to explore if they're saying emotions that are negative, especially if we're reacting to those negative emotions, right? We want to be able to validate those feelings for them, but also explore what those emotions are. So the ICF core competencies emphasize that creating a coaching agreement that includes establishing trust and intimacy. So when we're able to show concern, when we're able to offer support, when we're able to maintain a non-judgmental presence, we are truly embodying what it means to be a coach. And sometimes it's gonna be hard, right? Like, I have a client who on session 1, I usually don't work with men, but for some reason this guy came to me and I felt called to serve him. And so it was one of those things that we were having a conversation. And he was referred to me by somebody that I know, and he was having a really tough time. And literally within the first 5 minutes of our conversation, he was telling me about how when he's at work, and he just doesn't feel like working, he'll just go and turn on porn all day. And I was so like, oh, right? Because it was the last thing I expected to come out of his mouth, that I really had to check myself. Right. And then we've gone and we've had tons of coaching sessions, and that's all he's talking about is like, you know, how it's his habit, it's what he does, and he's not proud of it. And I even asked him, I'm like, do you think that maybe you need, that you might have a porn addiction and that maybe you need some counseling around that, right? And he's like, nope, I'm good. And so it's like one of those things that in the beginning, when I had this conversation with him, I really had to like put on my poker face and not have him think that I was judging him, because honestly, I don't care what he does in his free time. I was just more surprised that that's part of the conversation that we were about to have within the first 5 seconds of me meeting him. Right? And I didn't want him to think that I was judging him, because honestly, I don't care. Like, you do you, right? But it was really something that I needed to take a step back from that situation and be like, am I handling this the right way? Right? And sometimes we don't know what to do. We might react, right? So it takes practice to kind of recenter ourselves. And some things are going to affect us, more than others. So, but as long as we know that we're able to maintain that non-judgmental presence, and we're not putting our stuff onto the client, and we're able to keep things separate, and then we're able to empathize with them regardless of what that conversation looks like, then we're doing them, we're serving them, and we're doing we're being understanding, and we're being an effective coach. So any questions around that? So bottom line, when we empathize, we're providing that trust, that trusting environment, that safe space that allows our clients to take more risks to reach their goal, right? They're willing to open up. They're willing to talk about things that they may not talk to anybody about, because they feel that they're safe. And in turn, they may take a step that they've never taken before because they know they have a really supportive environment. So the next part about this is like, how do we build rapport, right? So you'll see there's a couple of different things that are listed here. But first of all, releasing is the number one thing that we need to do. Our clients are going to be coming into our sessions with so much on their plate, right? So much on their shoulders. There's just so heavy. One, you may be the only person in their life that's listening to them. They may not share freely with other people in their lives. They may feel the burden, especially now in today's world with all the things going on. Like, it's heavy out there for people. So we want them to be able, before we get into anything, before we get into what do you want to talk about? A really great way on how to get them to release is like, is there anything that you need to share to just be able to be present here today? Right? And it's going to look differently for different people. One of the things that I love to do is do some breath work before we get started. Right? You could do, if you are a energy worker, you could do some Reiki, right? You could do a little meditation, whatever that looks like for you. You could do a prayer before you get started, whatever that is for you, and whatever is going to help them get centered, whatever they need to release for them. And so this is like a 2 to 3 minute thing. This is not going to take your your 20 minutes, right? So we
Right.
don't want that to happen. We just want them to be able to get out whatever they need to get out in order for them to be able to move forward into the conversation and the topic that they want to discuss. Sometimes you'll find that that's the same thing. But whatever is going to end up being their topic, we're just there for them to be able to clear. The second part of that is going to be active listening, right? There's nothing worse than having a conversation with somebody that's not listening. Have you ever had that experience where they told you to talk into somebody who's forever on their phone? Right? It's the same thing when we're distracted and, you know, we want to be able that we're fully concentrating on them. So whatever you need to do to set your space up for that, you know that that's what we need to do. We want to also be able to remember key points, key words of things that they've said, so we're able to reflect that back to them. And when we do that, our client is then going to feel heard, right? They're going to feel valued. And that's also the foundation of trust. When they feel heard, when they feel valued, then they know that the trust is there. There's also going to be mirroring. So again, not introducing language that they're not using. And if they're, you know, using the same words that they're using, but if there is something that's coming up for you, then it looks something like, you know, what I hear you saying, and this word may or may not apply, but I'm just going to put it out there and you tell me, but does it look like, you know, X is what you're dealing with, right? If you have an insight and you want to add language, then remember to just ask them, like, this is what, can I share something? This is what I'm hearing you say. Would this be a good way to define that for you? Does that resonate? And remember to just let them choose it. You know, I also will find myself saying, you know, I'm going to share a word, but it may not be the word. So you tell me what that word looks like for you. For me, what's coming up is boundaries. But is that your truth? Right? And they will forever step into what serves them, right? So we want to validate their feelings, and we want to really so besides mirroring, there's also going to be validating their feelings. And when we acknowledge and validate their feelings without judgment, this is going to show them that you respect them, right? And that you're able to follow through, you're able to maintain the confidentiality, that's also going to feed that foundation. The other thing too is that we want to show consistency, right? We want to be consistent on how we show up. We don't want to be wavering, right? If you're a happy person, you have a lot of energy, that you're always like a big presence, then that's how you want to show up. And you be consistent with that, right? But, or if you're more subdued and you're warm and you're caring, then you want to show up that way every single time. Because the second that you don't show up that way, they're going to start thinking about you. And if it's a constant thing that you're high, low, high, low, high, low, they're going to be like, what's up with this lady? Right? They're what is going on? And they're going to start asking you personal questions of, are you okay? What's going on? So if you need to reschedule your sessions, it's better than you showing up on a call completely distraught or in a completely different mindset. Right? So by being a consistent, however you show up person in their life is also going to build their trust with you. Any questions on any of this so far? Okay. The other one is personal disclosure. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, like, don't share about yourself, right? As a coach, don't make it about you. Don't share about yourself. There's going to be sometimes some specific times. And this doesn't mean every session. This doesn't mean, this means that when it's appropriate for you to share something about you that's going to have the client feel better about the situation, or for them to feel like you know what you're talking about, or you know what they're talking about because you've been in something similar. So I'm going to give you an example. And Julie, let me know when you need to go, because I know you need to leave early, okay?
I think if I go at 3:15, I'll be okay.
Okay, and we should be complete by then with everything. So I have a client right now that she's really struggling in a relationship. It's a new relationship with a guy, and she is in the education world, right? He's in the healthcare world. She just doesn't understand how somebody can be so busy, right? I come from a healthcare background. It's what I've done my entire career. So it was really easy. And so I asked I'm like, can I share something with you about what my day used to look like when I was working 12-hour shifts in the hospital that may be able to support you and this, like, you not being able to understand what his world looks like. And so I was able to share my day with her about how and is when the days only selected people got phones. I used to have a pager, and I'm like, my pager would go off literally every 10 minutes, if not more. I would barely get a lunch break. I'm lucky I even went to the bathroom, and there would be a line outside my door constantly. I would start my day at 6:30 in the morning. The surgeons were outside my door at 6:45. There'd be a caseload of people that would go until 6 o'clock at night. And if my staff didn't show up, I'd have to do their job on top of mine. So you know what? When my mother used to page me to remind me to go to the store for her, I had to tell her she had to stop it because I didn't have time to even have that conversation because I was about to pee my pants. Right? And like in that moment, me sharing something really personal with her had her recognize that he wasn't just saying that. And the guy's like an internist, like pretty much in the ER. And I'm like, he's just not, it's not that he's not into you. He just doesn't have the time. Right. And so sharing something personal like that, that's going to support them in recognizing whatever it is that they're dealing with, is allowed. It will be beneficial. So you're going to want to ask permission first. And it may look something like, may I share something, that's similar? And it could be something about yourself. Occasionally, it might be something about another client and what they're dealing with. So, but ultimately the goal with that is to move something forward and not necessarily have you tell them what it is that you think that they should do, right? Because we want to keep that focus on our client. And then when we do share something, either about ourselves, about a client experience, we always want to, one, ask for permission, but then we want to be able to back it up with a question for them to be able to either take that or just let it go. So you want to ask the question something like, when you hear me say that, what comes up for you? Or does that resonate with you? Or was it helpful? Right? And yeah, you can ask a closed-ended question because you want to make sure that whatever you shared landed the way that you wanted it to, right? And if it doesn't resonate for them, if it's not helpful or whatever, just be like, okay, great, fine, right? And just move on. The other thing too that you want to do is positive reinforcement. So that's when you're going to be celebrating them. You're going to celebrate, them making strides, them accomplishing a goal. But we want to be really clear on one thing: you being positive and being positive with them and providing positive reinforcement to them, like cheering them on, doesn't mean that you're their cheerleader. And the reason why there's this distinction is that we don't want to be their cheerleaders, because when we become their cheerleaders, they're going to start to rely on us to make them feel better, right? They're going to continuously look for us to make them happy or for us to hype them up. And what we want is, we don't want them to rely on us that way. But we do want to acknowledge when they're making progress and when they're moving forward. And so that's what we mean about the positive reinforcement piece. And then the other part of this, because this is an EQ course, is that you want to use your emotional intelligence here, and you can draw on your assessments that you've recently took to understand your emotional intelligence and how it'll help you build that trust and rapport for them. So some things to think about. And again, if you have any questions, please stop me. But some of the things to think about here is where your high scores are around your empathy, your interpersonal skills, and how they will indicate your natural ability to connect with people, right? And again, that's the foundation of establishing trust. So when you're talking about enhancing safety and coaching, again, this is you creating your safe environment so your clients can really fully engage with you. They'll be able to express their thoughts, their feelings on that without fear of consequences, right? You don't want them to be worried that you're going to use something against them. And so some ways that we can do that is setting clear boundaries and expectations. So it's important to establish expectations at the beginning of your relationship, really with anybody in your life, especially your clients. So if you have specific agreements set right up front of what will be included, what won't be included, what the roles are, what the responsibilities are, what the boundaries are, that you're putting into effect of the relationship, there's not going to be any gray area there. You also want to restate that confidentiality is part of the coaching sessions. But you also want to establish what's not going to be confidential, right? So you want them to feel comfortable and that they know what things may be passed on, what things may not be passed on, right? You also want to develop a non-judgmental presence, meaning you want to cultivate an atmosphere where clients are encouraged to share their true selves, right? You don't want them to feel like you're going to judge them. So if that means managing your reactions and maintaining your neutral, supportive demeanor, then that's what you need to do, even when things are challenging, right? You want to also foster inclusivity and acceptance. So recognize and value the client's unique background and their experiences and what their perspectives are. We want to use inclusive language as well. And we want to be aware of unconscious biases that we might have that may impact our coaching spaces. We also want to encourage autonomy and acceptance. So we recognize and value the client's unique background and experiences. Oh, no, sorry. We want to encourage autonomy and their ownership, right? So we want our client to take charge. They're in charge of their coaching journey. We're not in charge of it. So we want to help facilitate these sessions, but ultimately, they're the ones that are on the journey. And they have control over what decisions they're going to make, what actions they're going to take, right? What the space is going to be like for them in their coaching. They also know what's best for themselves, right? So they may not be aware of it, but our role is for us to create this space for them to step into that they can start exploring what that looks like. And we want them to ultimately gain confidence and become more independent and feel more secure. So the other part of that too is response and adaptive communication. So we want to communicate in a way that meets our clients' needs. So this is like, it's kind of thinking about there's a place for yoga and then there's a place for CrossFit, right? And we need to decide which clients do better with yoga and which clients do better with a CrossFit environment, right? Some clients need that tough love. They need you to be like, wait, and like call them out on it. And some clients will do better with a more softer approach. Like I will tell you that when I'm working out, when I'm like doing something competitive, like I want that tough love because it keeps me going. But if my husband gives me that tough love, I'm a puddle of tears because it's him. Right. So well, it's also like circumstantial. So you need to decide, and it's something that you could ask your client, like, what do you know, in this relationship, what's going to best serve you? Do you need me to be firm? Or is it something that you're not going to resonate with that? And understand what that means for them. So we have to be flexible based on the person that we're dealing with as to how we're going to communicate. So each client is going to be different, and we have to celebrate their differences and really understand what they're going through when they make their decisions. So they're all going to have their own little quirks, right? They're going to have their own little personalities. And so we're going to need to communicate into differently for each person. And then we also need to recognize that people are going to communicate differently back to us, right? So like I have this one client right now that she's very literal. So even if I say something that I don't mean it literally, she's going to take me literally. And it took me like, I was like, oh, like I didn't expect it. So now I have to really stop and think about how I say it to her before it comes out. And she's one of those people that I'm like, okay, well, tell me one thing. And she's like, well, there's more than one thing. And then she's going to give me a list of 6 different things. Right. Like, and it's just like her little quirk that I had to like, okay, I have to wait. I have to work around it. Right. So, the other thing too is that we want to, we want to be able to reflect back and summarize for our clients, right? We want them to really let me back my brain up. We want to reflect back and summarize. And the reason why we want to do that throughout our session, at the end of our session, as we're having a conversation, one is for us to make sure that we're on the same wavelength. So what I heard you say is this. Is that correct? If we don't understand, and having them say yes, giving them the space to say, yeah, but it's really this, right? Changing it up so that way it's really, as they hear it back, it's going to hit differently as to when they're speaking it. Because when they're speaking it, you're just kind of free flowing a lot of times. You're not even hearing what you're saying sometimes. But as a coach, when we're like, okay, so what I just heard you said is X, Y, and Z. Is that true? They're going to then hear it for themselves, process it, and then be able to tell you, oh, yeah, that is what I want. Or no, actually, what I'm trying to say is something else. So when we reflect back, we're giving them a different perspective that they're going to hear. And so we want to make sure that we confirm it just in case they want to change something. And so when we reflect back and we get that confirmation, it's going to help us both to make sure that we're on the same page and we're moving in the same direction. The other thing too that we're going to want to do is literally is regular check-ins. So throughout our coaching journey, you want to check in. So I usually do a check-in after session 1. Like, tell me, how was this for you? And I just have them, I see what worked for them, what didn't work for them. People will also do a check-in halfway through. So especially if you're doing packages, You know, after session 5, do a check-in, see what's working for them. You could even set it up that it's an automatic email that goes out for you, like a survey. You could send them 10 questions of like where they are they where they thought they would be, like what's lacking, where do you need to refocus in the next, you know, sessions moving forward. And you could also do check-ins in your coaching session every now and again. You just want to make sure that you keep getting feedback from your client so you could see what's working for them and if there needs to be a readjustment, right? They might have came in for, you know, one topic and then realize that they don't want to focus on that anymore, right? So we want to make sure that we're really getting a sense of where they are. And then also we want to build a safe community for them, right? So if you're in a group, if you're doing team coaching, group coaching, right? We want to make sure that when it's appropriate, if we're working with groups, we want the groups to interact, right? But we also want to foster that respect so they can share their experiences in a safe space. We may also want to do random activities that'll allow clients to express themselves and learn from each other, right? So, and it's going to be done in a controlled, respectful environment. We're going to set some ground rules on there, right? And it's regardless of the setting that we're in, if it's a one-on-one or in a group setting, ultimately, as the coach, we want to stay in our role as a coach, right? And then there's also reflective practices, which means that you're going to look at ways to incorporate things that allows people to self-reflect. And as a coach, we should self-reflect of like, yeah, I like how I did that. I didn't like how I did that. But also when we have that, we're creating that environment for them to look inwards, they're going to be allowed to explore their thoughts and feelings on it, because the environment that we've created is that we're going to reflect on things that are happening in the session. And it's going to overflow into our clients, right? So you can use guided reflection to help your clients process stuff. You can also do something before the coaching session, at the end of the coaching session. Again, that could look like breath work. That could look like a moment of silence. That could look like, you know, having them journal, whatever, you know, works for you and works for them. We wanted to just enhance the coaching. So it needs to be something that you set up clearly from the beginning. And we want to make sure that we have their buy-in. So I've given you, again, a lot of stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing. Any comments, questions, or statements from that? I try to make it as painless as possible, but it's still a lot. Is there anything that comes up to you guys?
I really like the idea of suggesting that they can do journaling,
Yeah.
you know, like in between sessions.
Right.
Maybe even in the session, I don't know that I would do that, you know, just take a moment and write down something. But I just think it's very supportive for them to sort of monitor their journey and be able to access what they noticed and what they're going through in between sessions. I like that.
Yeah. And so I phrase it as homework. So especially if I'm in the middle of a session with somebody and they're just kind of still, you know, I mean, some people are really great on their feet and they're able to get through stuff really quick. And then other people need to sit and ponder and think about it. So I'm just like, okay, so your homework is going to be like anything that comes up for you, I want you to, you know, journal about it. One of the things that I do for my clients as like a added value is I have them all join me on Voxer. And so they have constant access to me. So they could either leave me a voice note or they could text message me in it. And I tell them, I'm like, just flow into Voxer, whatever you guys need. And I like Voxer because I don't need to give my personal phone number out. But I have clients do that all the time where I'm like, okay, as you have some thoughts, just jot them down on in Voxer and let me know if you need me to respond. And if you don't, and you're just free flowing, then totally cool. And then I'll read through them. They see when I read through them. And you know, I could bring it up at the next session, like, hey, you had some really great, if I didn't acknowledge it in Voxer, which I usually do, but then at the beginning of the next session, I'm like, you know, I'll ask them if it's something that they want to talk about.
Is
I
that
find,
V
sorry.
like Victor?
Yeah, it's VOXER. It's
That's what I
free.
thought.
You don't need the pro version. The free version is fine. And I just put everybody on there and it's like a little walkie-talkie. So you could either talk to them in real time, they can leave you a message, like a text message, or you know, you could upload documents, you could upload pictures. So I find it really helps. And if you have a group, you could set up groups and then you can mass text a group all at once. So say you do check-ins like on Sundays, let's say, then you could just send that out to everybody that's in your Voxer group. So it just
Telegram now is doing that too, where you don't
you do.
have to share your phone number either.
Oh, I like
Yeah, so I have it's connected to your phone number, obviously, because it works through your phone carrier, right? But the way they reach me is through my business name, Tranquility Birth and Beyond. So they put that in there, and they'll find my contact. And I have one group chat with a mom group that I have from the church, and them, the only way they can get in is if I invite them. So it's like, you know, it's also controlled, you know.
yeah.
I like it a little bit better than Voxer because, like you said, with Voxer you can only do like the voice notes, some texting. Here's a little bit more like a regular phone, right? Like
Yeah.
even if I wanted to do a live, Telegram has a live voice thing, right? Like it's not like a live video, but it's live voice. So like I can talk live and I can let other people like chime in and also talk live. I like the Telegram too. I mean, I've worked with
Oh, I love
Voxer
that.
for a while.
Oh, I love that. I didn't realize that they changed a lot of that. I'll have to look into it. It's been a while
Yeah.
since I
Yeah,
use
I
it.
know it's been a while for me too. And then maybe like 6 months ago, I had a friend who was starting to do a Bible study, and I've
Mhm.
logged in, and I'm like, oh, you could do all this stuff. He's like, yeah, let me show you, and he just like sat there with me and like all the stuff with like Telegram. But so I am in a doula mentorship program for doulas who are not seasoned but not new, so like within your 3 or 5 years of doing doula work. And the one that does the one that leads the group, that's how she opens up the group. She'll open up with a journal prompt, and she'll say, I'll give you guys like 5 minutes, you know, to just jot things out. If you want to share, feel free to share. If not, and then she goes, your homework is to finish your journal prompt and, you know, to see what comes up. And so then we meet once a week for 2 hours. And so she wants us to have that notebook with everything on it. So then by the end of our mentorship, we can kind of look back through our whole journey and what we're thinking about. So yeah, I think the journaling is very powerful.
I love that. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. And for me, breath work is really incredible. Like I'll do EFT tapping too
Oh yeah.
at the beginning, and just especially with people's energy, sometimes they just need to, right? And then they're able to really just be present. So yeah, I really love that. I love the ads to that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So today's activity is, I think we could do this right quick before you need to scoot off, Julie. So one of the things that I want, and then we could switch this around. It's a exercise on listening. So I'm going to share with you an experience, and then I want you, Julie, to tell me what were the key points that you heard in it, right? So, I just want you to reflect back what you heard that I said, and then okay, so I have to tell you that, so one of the things that I'm going through is I had this really I had this high dose vitamin IV yesterday. And one of the things that I find that it really does for me is it makes me so lightheaded. And I'm just like, my brain is foggy. I feel really bloated and gross. And I had to go out to dinner last night for my mom's 75th birthday. And I have to tell you that I tried really, really hard to just be a trooper and not complain and be present with her. But I have to tell you, it was really difficult.
Wow. I hear you. You had this infusion yesterday, which leaves you feeling lightheaded, foggy, bloated, gross, I think you said. And you had a birthday party for your mother, her 75th birthday party last night. You really tried to be a trooper. You hung in there as best you could, and it was hard.
Wow. Oh my God, Julie, that's incredible. She got like every word.
Every word, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even,
Very impressive.
wow. Wow. Okay. Okay, so Julie, now I want you to just give a quick, couple of sentences for Maria to go ahead and reflect.
Oh, well, Maria, I am struggling uh, with tiredness right now. I am just tired. I was up late doing a seminar last night, and I loved the seminar. I woke up just like super like moved to be alive. In fact, I had Alexa play Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles at 6 o'clock this morning, and I was weeping with gratitude for my life. And so I haven't stopped since 6 a.m. And I'm just so tired. And it's just really been like taking everything to be present for this class. That's it.
All right, so Julie, you are tired from a seminar that you did last night, that you were on, that you felt moved and grateful. You put on Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles, waking up at 6 a.m. And you woke up grateful this morning, but tired and exhausted. You were trying to stay present in the class that you had this afternoon. I think that's it. I know there's a little bit more in there. I know I missed something from the yesterday morning, just last night. No?
It's
Oh.
good. It's good.
Oh.
Really good.
Okay.
And this is the thing about reflection. You guys don't need to get every single detail. It's
Right.
more about feeling.
Julie's the pro, man. Julie's like, she's got like something in her recorder in her brain.
But this is the thing. Sometimes if you give people too much of what they just said back, you're going to lose them. Right? So don't feel you need to get every detail. It's more about them getting that you get the feeling of what they're dealing with.
And that's one thing that I'm really good at, just summarizing, right? Like because I used to be somebody that would talk so much and like elongate things when they really needed to be short. So it was very I worked with my therapist to kind of get to the point and just say what I need to say, so that now my brain is trained to think that way. So like Julie said a whole bunch of stuff, and I still like, you know, I minimized it, and that's the way I now have trained my brain. And sometimes I think like that's a good thing, that's a bad. I guess it all depends. Like we were talking about before, it depends on the situation that we're in. But still very impressed at Julie, because I cannot do that.
Definitely. It is impressive. So Julie, we could let you go because I know I kept you a little bit over than you wanted to be. I'm
No,
apologizing
it's
for that.
okay. Well,
But
thank you so much, Lori, and I guess I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
same for you, Maria.
Bye, Julie. Have a good weekend. Get some
Take
rest.
care. You
You can.
too. Bye.
Bye.
So Maria, I just wanted to ask you, do you want to go over we have just a couple minutes. Is there anything that you wanted to go over? Did you want to talk about your sorry, I just noticed my little puppy behind me. Look at her.
Oh.
Somebody's comfortable. Oh my God, he's gonna do the desk.
It's like Holly's dog. She was like coming in and out of the little bed. And I'm like, oh, she's back. Oh, she's gone. Through the coaching session.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I
I didn't notice. Oh my goodness. No, she had
I wanted to ask her, I know you said you had like an outline of like the beginning of the session. I wanted to see if you can like send that to me or share that with me, because it is something that I want to practice on a little bit more. The coaching.
I did share it with you. You should have had it,
Oh.
but let me just show it to you now. You should have gotten a request. I sent it to your hold on, sorry. I sent it to your Tranquility email.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
But I will still share it with you. Here, this is what it looks like though. And I did share it with you, so you might get a Evernote, because that's what I use. But I just literally went and I took the framework, and you know, the framework has the outline, but then it also has questions with it. And so I just did that for the beginning, but then what I always keep up is this. So I just took the main questions and copied them in. So I at least have, I know I'm hitting every, so they go based on this.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
So I just did it like that. And let me just make it a little bit bigger so you can see the bottom. And this really helped. Right. So there's a good amount.
Oh yeah.
And then the ones that I always this is the question that I always this one. This is the one that I feel like we never really were taught to do. I don't know why it's doing that. But this, what is this asking this question earlier on, what will achieving this goal mean to you? Is the one.
Some like Julie was saying, in some of the recordings that we were listening to, I did like that question, because there was two of the recordings that they did ask or somewhere in that area, and I like it, but then I don't remember it when it comes to the coaching session. And I just bought a book now that kind of tells you like coaching questions and all that stuff, which is great. But then it's like when I was at when I did the, oh my God, what is this? The WCI, you know, how they give you like the book with all the questions that you should probably ask. And then, so I ended up doing something similar, but then this coaching is completely different, right? Like it's more emotional, which is something I had to work on actually too. Like I am an empath, but it just kind of knowing that I can still be professional and still be caring and nurturing and asking questions, right? It was a little hard for me because I went to school for forensic psychology. That's what my bachelor's is in. And I was, even though I've never done anything within that field, I've always been in the medical field. And in the medical field, medical people, you know, they're very friendly and very open, right? And so I was very rigid. And they would be like, you have a child? Like, we never knew you had a child. And I was like, yeah, she's 5 years old. They're like, what? She's 5? Like, how? Like, we don't know that based on your desk, on your talks. So then it was like retraining my mind. So I have that. That's done. I let go of that part of it. So then now that we're doing the emotional intelligence part, it's now bringing it back in. But then it makes me nervous because I'm trying to get my ACC. It's being evaluated, it's being recorded, it's being scrutinized. So then I get all nervous and into my head. So like last session, I tried to just forget that you know, there's people observing me, like just go with the flow. And I felt it went a little bit better, but I do need to work on that beginning part of like the coaching agreement and like what exactly to ask better to kind of get certain things out. Like I said, I haven't been doing this for you know, I took a long break, so
Yeah.
I think just with practice it'll be fine. I'll be fine.
You'll
I
be
can do
fine.
it. I can do it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about you at all. And this is the thing. So even once, like where I am is I'm now trying to get my PCC. So now the person who's my mentor right now is an MCC. And I still, like, I literally did not pass one of my recordings. So my first recording passed. So I was like, oh, except my second recording. My second recording didn't pass. And it's because I did not go as much in depth into the coaching agreement that I needed to, because that's not how we were trained. And so like this more updated version of that has you go even deeper into that.
Right.
So I'm telling you that to not worry that you not passing, let's say, right? Say you need to give another recording, right? Doesn't mean that you're not a good coach. So don't frame it that way. It just means that you need to meet the requirement.
Okay.
And that's why
Because
this question list is what I had to do.
yeah, because that gets into your head like, well, am I really good at this? Is this something I should be doing?
Yeah.
But okay.
No, you're good at this. It's just there's a strict guideline that of what we need to hit. And so for me in my last coaching session, they're like, you didn't nail your coaching agreement. And so I didn't get any points. I think I maybe got 1 point for 3 point, the marker 3 section. And so I didn't pass. I just snorted because I'm like, how do we not pass?
Yeah, right.
Like,
And then you've done this all the time.
and like, but nobody died, right? So I was just like, okay, I'll get another recording.
So I had a question about that because you have gone through like the test. Like I haven't, I guess with my one-on-one, I do want to talk to Cheryl about it. So she submits the recordings and all that stuff, but if we fail, we just resubmit and then.
So you're not going to be able to sit for the exam until she passes your recordings.
Okay.
Right? So when she blesses your recording, you're going to take that recording, you're going to get a transcript of it, and the recording audio and the transcript are going to get uploaded into ICF. They're going to review it, and then they're going to invite you to sit for the exam.
Okay. All
right. So Cheryl's going to bless it. Your mentor's going to bless it.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, that's a good recording. If not, you just keep submitting recordings.
Okay. All right.
And
I mean, I wouldn't like to keep submitting, but at least I know that's an option.
yeah, I mean, you got to ask her how many,
Yeah,
you know,
how many,
but the one thing to look out for is that like you submit, so you're having your first session next week, right? You submitted your recording.
Yeah.
Right. So in that session, she's going to give you feedback. This is what I really like. This is what I think you should do differently. Right. And then for your second recording, you take what guidelines she told you, right? Like whatever she said you needed to work on is what you have to make sure is in your second recording.
Okay.
So say like you didn't show support and empathy and concern, right? She wants you to go deeper in that. Let's say, I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
right? So then you have to be more mindful of that when you're coaching. So that way you
Okay.
can make sure that you do that, right? Or like, say, you didn't talk about obstacles, then make sure that you're covering the obstacles in your next session. Because then
Okay,
that's
that's
so
no,
it's
that's
not
good because then it's not, yeah, I'm not just being thrown in there.
no.
Like a small guide. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And look at the feedback as a growth opportunity and not a make wrong, right? Like it's hard because we want to do well. But they're always going to find something. That's their purpose, that's their role.
Right. I thought about that the other day. I think last week when Coach Cheryl always gives you the great feedback, but then there's always a but. I'm like, oh, that's her job to be
Yeah.
like, but but you could have worked on this. And I am a person, I know a lot of people just normally are not well, us coaches, we're pretty good with feedback because it's what we do too. But I know a lot of people tend to like kind of get stopped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I welcome the feedback because then that's how I know what to do better for next time. So
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's going to be I'll tell you one and I'll let you go because I know we're at time. But like I did my 2 coaching sessions with the same person.
mhm.
And I probably shouldn't have done that because the first time around I got feedback that I'm like, oh, you need to do blah, 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 blah. My second one was even a worse recording because it was with the same person and I couldn't get a breakthrough with them.
Oof, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like I got caught up in their story and you know what I mean? And so
yeah,
I was like, okay, well, for my third recording, I can't use this person again.
yeah.
Right. So just also keep in mind that it might be the person you're coaching.
Okay, that's a good, yeah. So I switch
Right.
it
So
up.
based on this feedback and what needs to be done, then consider not getting the same person.
Yeah, that's true. That's good.
Okay.
I'm gonna
And
make a
if you
list.
need me as a client, let me know. I'm happy to do that. And
Oh,
we can
yeah,
just
perfect.
I need a recording anyways, so we could do that.
Okay. All right, Lori, thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck next week. It'll be fine. Cheryl's
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Yeah. All right, so I will
Thank you.
see
Have a good
you.
weekend.
You too. All right,
Bye.
bye.